Today is July 9th, 2026. It's about a little after midnight. Too angry to sleep. That little freak showing up at Walmart Alliance. The shit that came out of his mouth. It wasn't even funny. Walmart's taping audio in every aisle. Thank you for your confession, though. You know, I had told you about my birth and my mother. You know, not justifying her actions, but as I grew understanding them, that she couldn't handle being a mother again. It's not an excuse, but understanding there's some people that can't. And she would say, I had my 3 daughters, my older sister, and I had my son, my brother. I didn't want any more children. And when you were born, I didn't want another baby. And then I almost died when you were born. You're your father's daughter. That's how she referred me to. Okay? But I'll tell you what, idiot Walmart, there was at least 2 men that she slapped the shit out of. She may insult me, but I still came from her. She didn't want to be a mother again. Then she almost died when I was born. She couldn't handle it. But I'm still her child. And it's a weird... When I was real little, she would say, I already have my children, I didn't want any more. You're your father's daughter. I thought, well, if you're not my mother, why did she leave me with such mean people? You know, being a child. But, you know, as I grew, understanding her mental processing at the time, she couldn't handle it. Okay? But, I'll tell you what, my mother, she may have said that to me and to people around me, but you better not say it. She would have beat the shit out of you. I've seen it. It's scary. She gets this weird... She said she was born a redhead, and she had a red hot temper that went from 0 to 100 in a second. She gets this weird face, and I mean a weird, scary face up. And she said all she's seen was red. She would have slapped your face, and she would have been beating you, and the cops would have had to pull her off you. You would have been beat. Some 91-year-old woman would have beat the shit out of you. I've seen her do it to grown men. She's 5 foot nothing, and she don't care how big you are. She goes scary, crazy mean. I seen her do it one time when I was small. Don't you ever insult her, that's my baby. I thought, you never call me your baby. And she screamed at him. She has no problem slapping you across the face. And then she would have smacked you all over. She's got like a scary side to her. And she told people that Karen is my baby. I thought I was my father's daughter. When she calmed down, she would look at me and say, look, I already had my 3 daughters. I had my son. I had my children. I didn't want any more. And then when you were born, I almost died. I didn't want any more children. So you're a father's daughter. You're a father's daughter. That's how she referred me to him. And it was, like I said, a source of pain. She may say that, but you better not. Because that's how she felt. She couldn't deal with being a mother again. So my father and my grandmother raised me. My grandmother was an elegant lady, petite. My father was a strict, hard man that taught compassion and empathy and respect for other people's lives. He didn't tolerate children acting up. Women that are raised by their father are stronger women. They're not coddled. They just make them into stronger women. That's why when I was little, I always told myself, if I ever have children, I'll make sure they always know that I love them. It won't be a question. I loved him enough when Dave threatened to kill them all. It was over my dead body. Those people are my heart and soul. And I made sure everybody knew I loved them. And when it came down to my life and death, I laid my life down. And I'll tell you what, where you said, I found out her mother didn't even want her when she was born, it figures. My mother would have beat the fucking shit out of you. You would have been beat the hell out of by a 91-year-old woman. I've seen her do it. It's scary when she gets that angry. You don't talk about her like that. And then the word baby comes out. It's like, where the hell did that come from? I think the first time she did that, my mouth must have hit the ground. That is still my baby. You won't talk to her about her like that. And she would have slapped your face, and then she would have beat you all over. She said, when I get like that, I see nothing but red. I tell you, she gets scary crazy. And then when she calmed down, she would tell me flat out, look, I already had my children. I had my 3 girls and I had my son. I didn't want children that I almost died when you were born. You're your father's daughter. That's how she could deal. She didn't want to be a parent anymore. She couldn't deal with almost dying. But if some idiot insult me, I still came from her. She may not have wanted to be a mother again, but I still came from her, and I've seen her slap the shit out of at least 2 men. And she's 5'0". And she has no problem smacking your face and smacking you all over. They would have had to pull the cops off of her, and you would have been beat up by a 91-year-old. Saying that shit today. And then she would have turned around and looked at me. You know, can't run. Shut up. But women that were raised by their father, they're stronger, independent women. They're not coddled. And you freak. So are you Bill from the Freemasons, that will to pull a scam off? Breaking in there, a person like her. Person like me, your victim. I didn't know that girl that was dating that agent was a prostitute. Yes, you did. And I didn't know they were breaking that they hired drug dealers to do this to her. Yes, she did. And I didn't know they photoshopped washing in the shower to make her look weird with herself. Yes, she did. But I made sure a person like her didn't get any money out of this. You didn't do anything. You're not God. You may be demon possessed, but you are not God. A person like me, you're a victim. You know it was drug dealers doing it. You knew that girl was a prostitute. You knew this whole thing was a drug scam. So are you Bill from the Freemasons' big scam, that guy Will? And Walmart's taping audio in every aisle. And what else you confess you were watching me sleep? You freaking little pervert. So who the hell are you? And you are nothing but a demon-possessed little freak. I'm trying not to say these people make me want to have Tourette's. To say every swear word in the book and it's still not bad enough. Some girl came up behind me. Too bad you didn't die when you were born. We would have actually got away with this. You know, we're going to put it this way. Do you ever notice God uses the most unlikely person to do something and to stand up against something so evil? The most unlikely person. Look at the people in the Bible. He picked the least of the people that nobody would have chose, that had the endurance to do it. David was a shepherd, the youngest. Moses was a slave's son that led the children of Israel out of Egypt. Was a slave's child. Somebody strong enough to endure. The most where he said, I made sure she lived through the complete horror for a person like her to teach her a lesson. He admitted he was one doing it to me. Complete horror. Person like me. Well, when Dave threatened to kill me, bad people are showing up. I called the hotline. And I was willing to help the FBI to get surveillance on these people so no one else got hurt. And to stay. And when Dave threatened to kill everyone in my family, was over my dead body. I'll make sure you get caught going after me. I laid my life down to save my family. A person like me, you're a victim. I'll make sure she never has a secure job again. Who the hell do you think you are? I have a secure job. You have to pass an FBI background check. I'm also a notary. Have to pass a background check for that one too. And by the way, just saying, they all know about you people. Not only the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, Secret Service, U.S. Marshals, the White House, the Department of Justice. I wrote everybody. Oh, the Secretary of State of Ohio, Ohio Attorney General. The governor knows about you people. Had dinner with his cousin several times. I wrote everybody. And there's a real FBI case with real police surveillance and a court order. Yeah. So a person like me that almost died to save her family, helped the government get information on people, that thousands went to jail, hundreds were saved. Most people win awards. So a person like me. Made sure I lived through complete horror to teach me a lesson for what being your victim. And where you said you didn't know that girl that agent was dating was a prostitute. Yes, you did. I didn't know they hired drug dealers to do this to her, and I didn't know they photoshopped washing in the shower to make her look weird with herself. Yes, you did. And you knew they drugged me and told me safe before. And you knew the fake doctor from before wasn't one of mine, works for them, and they had lied. And the whole thing was a scam to extort money from the government. You knew that, bitch. Don't play people like a fool. You know, in 2020, where they're selling the case, selling the login, this girl pulled up outside the laundromat in Louisville, said, I got the login to the case. None of this is funny. It said she was found innocent of everything. None of this is funny. Purse of the case. Found innocent of everything. They told my ex-husband, January 25th, 2019, or the police always knew she was innocent and innocent before. And they were talking about it at the station. How about 9/18/19, Ravenna Courthouse, the undercover police telling the judges that they had them look into it. They found that you could find she did nothing. You knew she couldn't handle it. You knew she appreciated us doing it. You can find she did nothing wrong. What part it was drug dealers in my home? You didn't understand. And don't give me this fucking shit that you didn't know Melissa and her kids were mean jokes for that prostitute to get my house. Because two guys that said they worked for a drug lord showed up at Walmart 62 in front of the cops and pets. You want their attention? Say you work for a drug lord. Talk to Melissa. She's willing to help us get away with this. She's willing to have the kids lie. You're kidding. No, I told her, say, so they followed around to find out what was. Found her friends with a prostitute. Telling the kids to lie. And in a legally bought house on Thanksgiving of 18 that they wanted the house for the prostitute. And then later on to Flora, they were making making everything up. They were games of pretend. Like the Stark County Sheriff said on Sunday, July 5th, 26th at that church. Melissa's kids were taped saying they made everything up. Nobody went to the hospital. There's no treatment for injuries. There's no police report. They were already there. Taping them saying they were lying. The press to do. Like Officer Mark said, Melissa could go to jail for involving herself in this. I hate to arrest her. Her kids are little. Why don't we just write it up that her and the kids were showing off for David and his new girlfriend? They're documenting games of them. Massillon police told Mount Carmel, Illinois, June 23rd to July 4th of 21, that they're documenting games of pretend. Stark County Sheriff's made fun of some guy named Kurt in May of 21. If he just found out those kids were lying, he's slow. October 5th, 21, in front of a client in Huntington Bank, they were talking about that girl lying. They were talking about lying everywhere. And we go to leave, he's like, who's that crazy Melissa? They're all talking about lying everywhere we go. I said the ex-daughter-in-law friends with ex's girlfriend had the kids make up some mean games of pretend on Thanksgiving of 18. He's like, is she crazy? And I said in front of the police. He said, is she crazy? And I said, yes. He said, they're still talking about that girl lying, and it's been years. They used to scream about her lying on Louisville Street in 19. They talked about her lying in Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and Illinois in 21. He sold the log at him. That and the investigators for her involving herself in this. This is so stupid. She made everything up when you were fishing with Dave. She's actually that stupid. She didn't check where you were. So you knew they were lying, trying to help them get away with it, right? Working with people that work for a drug lord that's running a con on the FBI. Nobody got hurt. There's no treatment. They're mean jokes. Why they make that shit up? Oh, they're just trying to scare her into giving up the house. That's it. And they ought to be ashamed of themselves, sitting around laughing, making up stuff behind Karen's back. She's laying her life down to help us get information on these people, trying to save everybody's life, and they're sitting around laughing, making up stuff behind her back. They ought to be ashamed. As if you didn't know. Oh, and as if you didn't know, they drugged me and told me to say it before. As if. Well, it's just like, we'll go back to Melissa. January 12th, 22, 4:55 p.m., Officer John stopped men at the door. When those kids get tape stating, they made everything up. As if you didn't know. And that's where the first of the case. Now, I've already been covered. We moved into our home in Ravenna. By the 6th day, somebody literally kicked our door into the wall while we were gone. Dave said, don't report it, a realtor is passing out keys. And by the 2nd week, I have orange, lemon, grapefruit, cypress on me, throwing up, severe personal infection. The well water we're using just to shower and wash your hands is orange and it's chunky. I thought it was toxic. I was fine until I moved in that house. We brought in bottled water to drink and cook, but you have to take a fast shower. And it took us a couple months to get the water treatment system in there. Okay? I thought it was toxic, and I told the doctor that. Lost 18 pounds before I called the FBI. These people admitted they were hiding behind doors, stabbing me with injections. When I walked by, we were always getting bees in the house. And you don't think to look for a person. And they were using hypnotic drugs on me and drugging me and telling me to say stuff. The first month of the case, a little white man came up. For every idle word you tell on us, I'll turn on you. Try to leave Dave, I'll list you a child molester. Like they said, her face had been priceless. It probably was of like, who are you? You know, that bruise on your leg had a bruise the size of a lemon. I used sodium pentothal on you. You know what? You said something about a wrong nightgown, bending over and probably accidentally seeing my butt in a life of pain and then threatened me again. I left Dave. You know, Dave worked for Davis, drugging me up and telling me to say lies. Dave debunked him. I didn't even know that nightgown years before. I was dressed modestly and they only made fun of the back of my knees. He made up the whole thing. Other men showed up where he had bruises before, infected and throwing up. It wasn't the well water, it was us. We were drug beating, raping you. We were drugging and telling you to say stuff before. We photoshopped all our lies, raised some guy named Chris out of the room. By January 19, it was a feminine wipey above the toilet. And then March 1st to 3rd, 21, they had put clips together, put her in a porn. It's not her, it's them. Then later on, what you're describing and showering, ha 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 ha. She figured out what they did. May 12th, 22 at noon. They found a tape of them admitting a shower scene in the other room. May 26th, 22 at noon. The shower scene was done on purpose to make it look weird. In February and March of 22 in November, they told one of my client's neighbor that Pete ordered everything drugged, photoshopped, and made up on me. They admitted to framing me March 24th, 22. May 25th, 21. 8/9/21. December 9th, 21. January 19th, 22. February 2nd, 22. August 4th, 25. August 5th, 25. August 7th, 25. August 30th or 31st to 25. And December 1st to 25. Of drugs and told to say it before. And even using hypnotic drugs. Now, my son John defended me on Thanksgiving of 18 when I asked him what's going on. He said, I don't know. He said he had told Melissa we were going through a divorce. She just have the kids make up something, but don't worry about it. Nobody can say anything bad about you. This be made up because of the divorce. You have a church people make up something too, but don't worry about it. Nobody can say anything bad about you. It's just about because of the divorce. And I told him you're moving out. You shouldn't have said anything until it happened, but I did. And since nobody can say anything bad about you, don't worry about it. Choose me. He told, now my son John is an electrician. He even taught college, and he was a union rep for, he had 3 different offices. He has thousands of contacts in this area. Manager of several places. June 3rd, 23. Some electric companies bullying around me. Hey, isn't that John's mom? He says she's never hurt anybody. Because of these people, he may never see his mother again. And that's his mom. I know. And he said she's never hurt anybody. He asked me to be a reliable name on a court record to watch his 3 kids after school when Melissa had pulled me and stunts with him and he lost custody. And I couldn't help him. I was working 2 jobs and he's pleading with me to be a reliable name on a court record to watch his kids. And I couldn't help him. He lost his kids, moved to Florida, met this new woman, married her. They started a church and they now have a baby. Looks happier than ever. How to get away from this occult. Just like Danny and Jen didn't know about the shower scene in the other room because like that prostitute bragged, they hired drug dealers to do this. And they photoshopped me washing in the shower in the other room. And were cackling how they were making fun of me doing that. Well, they also admitted they drugged me and told me to say it before. I kept going over to Danny and Jen's. They didn't know anything about this. And I kept asking them questions. April 16th, 23. Across the parking lot after my daughter-in-law's mom's memorial service. Danny and Jen walk up to Shay and Gabe, my grandson and his girlfriend. Said I finally went to Dad, asked him what on earth is going on. He said he had hired some guy named Pete on his own. It was Pete and his men in her home before. Pete has her frame, Pete has her tape. A filthy, dirty statement. Some guy he hired. What the prostitutes say? They were drug dealers. Some lady was outside Walmart Alliance. Said I feel bad about saying anything. Her son's family really didn't know about that shower scene. That girl is a prostitute. I was laughing they were stealing for. And admitted they hired drug dealers to do this, and admitted that they photoshopped that shower scene in the other room to make her look weird. No wonder her son didn't know anything about it. And they said her ex-husband confessed he had hired some guy named Pete on his own. Since it was drug dealers they hired, he had to be a drug dealer. The one that drugged her and told her to say it before. No wonder nobody will say anything to her. It's a drug scam. Like they said outside my apartment, July 5th, 26. We heard that that one they call Henry Maffey, his kid was laughing in a restaurant. They were stealing everything for her. She was never going to get a dime. A person like her. She was just, but the drug lord had her date that agent. So he'd throw the case so the drug dealers would get her, that got arrested would be released and they could sue for tens of millions of dollars each for false arrest and fraud. She was only to date him so he'd throw the case. Not for her to steal anything and not for her to get a dime. They had told you January 13th, 23, this whole thing was a drug scam from the drug dealers, human trafficking people. Some drug lord thought he could run a scam on the FBI. So, who was a little bitch in Walmart Alliance saying that he made me live through complete horror to teach me a lesson for being his victim? And thinks he can steal my money. Bet your bill from the Freemasons big scam, aren't you? But thank you for your confession. I sent it in to the sheriffs. Like Officer Reinhardt said in Louisville, they tape an audio in every aisle in Walmart's. They confessed to something, we got them. Boy, they have confessed to stuff in Walmart's. It's like a cesspool. I think it's August 18th or 23. I'm on Forestburg Drive. Some drug dealers are yelling stuff off in the distance. A lady and guy walks by, said some of the drug dealers don't even find this funny anymore. Did she do anything wrong? No. The drug dealers already confessed they photoshopped everything. Made fun of the FBI for falling for it. He said, are they going to do anything about it? She said, I don't know, but none of this is funny. They even confronted her ex-husband if he knew it was medical malpractice, fraud, and medication errors that made her sick before. And he said, yes, he knew that. And they did encourage them to sue those doctors for years. He didn't say a word and let all those people hurt her. Who hurt somebody because somebody makes up a baby lie 15 years before to cover up their son's adultery? Thought I caught Tim and Katie together and a minister made up a baby lie. Then wait 15 years to hunt somebody down and harm them. Who the hell does that? And it was Linda Fall and her husband. They thought it was me. Where Linda came up. I saw him again. I got caught. I think they thought it was you. I'm sorry. Be careful. When he took my kid by the next service, pushed him to suicide, and made up that baby lie. But that freaking Walmart even admitted he was watching me sleep. He was stalking me in my apartment. Inside a Walmart, he confessed. Some idiot girl says, shame you didn't die when you were born. At least then we would have got away with this. Well, maybe God let me live so you get stopped. Had to be somebody strong enough to endure your terror. Like that guy said, he made me live through complete horror. Just being his victim. I was found innocent of everything in 18. Him bragging, I'll make sure she'll not have a secure job ever again. I already have a secure job. I have to pass an FBI background check. Like every year or every other year. Plus I'm a notary. Can't even have an accusation. See, I was found innocent of everything in 18. Like Officer Mark said, we always knew the doctor from before was not one of Karen's. One of Karen's doctors could never be with them. That would be illegal. It'd be a federal crime. Put it that way. Federal prison. They admitted in 18 they were using the doctor for the Florida drug cartel. By January to March of 19, he never met me in person. To March 27th, 25, another Michelle in that group, state and federal agent, she confessed to him that the doctor from before was not one of mine, works for them, and they had lied. He was one of my doctors. She actually don't know who he is. And that guy, Pete, that's running his mouth about, no, let me take that back. That was December 1st. March 27th, 25, that agent said he broke up with that other Michelle when she confessed to him that the doctor from before was not one of mine, works for them, and they had lied. He was one of her doctors. She actually don't know who he is. And when they bashed in her head, they tried to kill her, leave her incompetent, it didn't work. Got it out of Dave, a girlfriend from before me, made him marry me so he could get a job at my dad's factory. And she'd have free insurance to use, and he could give her money. Back then, you didn't have to show ID. We tried to fight a bunch of medical bills that weren't mine. And have my medical records for 15 years, or some other ladies. They say, some crazy lady stole your ID, Karen, committing identity fraud. We have to pay the copay, so they said they put me in jail. I'd never cheat on you. And here it's him and his girlfriend. Half my medical records, or they got out of David, was one of his girlfriends. 15 years. They had also got it out of that family that was telling people it offended him. Strange called me a faker, that they were all lying to the FBI to help these people get away with it. That didn't even concern him. Lisa's father killed her kid and she wasn't there. They were just lying. March 20th, 26, Walmart West has by the electronics, an investigator from 18, how an FBI agent had said he got it out of that family. They were all lying to the FBI. That offended him. Strange calling her a faker. They were helping these people get away with it. A drug lord running a scam on the FBI. Shame on them. April 17th, 25, Carl seen that other Michelle that was dating an agent. She was in She's parking lot in Hartville. She's having a meltdown so loud in the parking lot. I talked to the police up there. They said, how dumb were you telling that guy that the doctor from before was not one of hers, works for them, and they had lied. He was one of her doctors. And when they bashed on her head, they tried to kill her, leave her incompetent. As soon as I told that guy, he broke up with me, and I really liked him, and I wanted to marry him. They said he's some kind of agent. She's an informant. We could all go to jail for this. And you could hear her across the parking lot. April 24th, 25, the Texas group is up in Summit Mall. You tell that guy, well, that was to pull a scam off here. So Ron, the other Michelle, told on him for the doctor from before not being one of hers, works for them, and they had lied. He was one of her doctors, and the whole thing was a scam. You tell him to take care of her, and then they threatened to kill that girl. Her and her friends went badass on him, telling on everything they were doing. May 26, 25, where they were laughing about all this in Hollister's on Summit Mall, bill from the Freemasons, big scam. May 26, 25, in Walmart 62, the cartel follows me in. We heard they were making fun of Bill from the Freemasons, big scam of the dirty doctor not being one of hers, works for them, and they lied. The whole thing is a scam. May 30th, 25, 1 o'clock in the morning, the Louisville police are outside with a lady, and they found the surveillance of May 26, 25 of them saying that the whole thing is a scam. They found the original case too. My ex-husband hired 2 men on his own. One was saying he was an attorney, so it made it illegal. They're like, no, it doesn't. It makes it worse illegal. One is a jail sentence for an attorney hired by a husband to set up cameras on a home stalking his wife without her knowledge or consent, 5 to 20 years. Right of privacy. They can't take it away. Without the taping in the bathroom, without drug confessions, being raping me, that's life in federal. They admitted November 23rd, 25, this whole thing was a scam to extort money from the government. It asked my ex-husband if they could do it to me. If they made it, and he said they could if they made sure that he got everything in the divorce. December 1st, 25, that other Michelle, part of her friends going badass, showed up at an investigator's office. He showed up at Walmart 62. Michelle showed up at my office, said that these people confessed this whole thing was a scam to extort money from the government. Her ex-husband was involved. And that the doctor from before was not one of hers, works for them, and they had lied. He was one of her doctors. She actually don't know who he is. And that guy, Pete, that's running his mouth about her, she doesn't even know who he is. It's just some guy Dave hired on his own. And these people admitted to using hypnotic drugs on her when they drugged her and told her to say it before. And the tape of work with yourself is a shower scene.